Good morning, everyone, and my lovely people. Welcome back. It is Thursday, the 11th of November. My name is Sturgeon. I will be with you for this hour-long show here on Good Morning North Coast. We're going to start with our regular weather and surf report with Heili and Deon from Victory Surf. Then we step into our daily dose of inspiration with Tony. Today we welcome the following guests onto Good Morning North Coast: Amanda Fenn from Hill Construction, Warren Loader from Thoughts of a Middle-Aged Man blog, Sharon Sinclair from Chandramala, who takes up their weekly slot, followed by Mitchell Curtis from Victims of Addiction. Our music video showcase today will be Daniel Jenkins and his City Streets. And also another reminder that Laugh Out Larry, unfortunately for the kids, is on a production break. But let us kick right into it. Oh, and I also need to thank our water sponsors, Pooza Water. Oh my goodness, the hydration is amazing. But let's get into it. Weather and surf report with Heili and Deon. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to your weather for today, brought to you by Belito Gas and Bride. Today will be pleasant with sun and areas of low clouds, and the high will be 23 degrees and the low 18 degrees. The real feel will be 25 degrees and the real feel shade 22 degrees. We have a south-southwesterly wind at 17 kilometers per hour and then wind gusts at 26 kilometers per hour. Also 25% chance of showers today. The sunrise will be at 4:55 a.m. and the sunset at 6:25 p.m. Pretoria sonskyn vandag en gedeeltelik bewolk with a high of 30 degrees and a low of 17 degrees. And then Joburg, also partly sunny but pleasant with a high of 28 degrees and a low of 16 degrees. And then Cape Town ook gedeeltelik bewolk but sunny and pleasant with a high of 23 degrees and a low of 17 degrees. Next up will be your surf report brought to you by 1010 Skryfbehoeftes and John Bosman from Victory Surf. Enjoy your day and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good morning, Belito, and welcome to Thursday morning's beach report. And another beautiful sunrise this morning over the ocean, just after 5 o'clock. And a southwesterly is going to be blowing most of today. It's going to blow between 10 and 20 knots by 10, 11 o'clock. So if you're going to get in the water, get in early this morning. It is a little bit full. The tide is quite high in the mornings now, and low tide later in the afternoon, and this wind will drop off a little bit later, so maybe some waves late afternoon. It's going to be about 22, 23 degrees today, so reasonable beach day, and definitely some fun waves at the main beach and at the bog. Enjoy your day. It's getting close to summer now. Have some fun.
Welcome back, my lovely people. We are going to kick right into our first interview for this morning. Tony, welcome back.
Thank
As
you.
Always.
Yes.
What have you got for me today?
Oh, okay. Thanks. So, from the day we are born, we are smothered with love. And, we are received in this world with a tremendous amount of love. And that love at that stage is unconditional. There's no conditions attached to it, and we just welcome the baby into the world, and we just embrace this baby, and we thank heaven that this baby has been, such a beautiful baby, and everything worked well. Sadly, as the years go by, so we start attaching conditions to that love. And today I want to talk about unconditional love. It's a term that is not very often embraced as closely as we should embrace it, but it's something that works fantastically well in any relationship that we endure. And the reality about it is that if we allow that to form the foundation of all our relationships, our lives are going to be tremendously great, absolutely wonderful. What is unconditional love? Unconditional love is not love without bounds or limits. That's important for the viewers to understand. Unconditional love is saying I love you and I offer my love freely to you. And some of the perks or the benefits of it is, number one, there's no strings attached. Now, I've been in a fellowship in recovery for many, many years, and for the past 32 years, I've embraced unconditional love every day of my life. I've been taught about that in the fellowship that I belong to, because it's one love, I mean the love you have for a fellow alcoholic or addict. And that's how I started to understand what the true meaning of unconditional love is. Unconditional love comes with no conditions, no expectations, and no strings attached. Now imagine we build that into our relationships, whether it's with fellow colleagues at work, with our family members, our siblings, our children, our partners. What a wonderful foundation that would be to build the rest of your life on. Right? And the other thing about it is when you've got that as your base or your foundation, you're able to support each other without misconstruing or misinterpreting what love is all about, because it's got no conditions. Now that is also so powerful. The other perk or the advantage about it is embracing unconditional love is that you're able to actually honor each other's request in a relationship without having to compromise anyone. So it doesn't come with that feeling, if you have to tell your partner no for some request that's made, it doesn't come with the feeling of, oh, I feel terrible having said no. It's based on unconditional love. So it's not as that I do love you if you say yes and I don't love you if you say no. Right? So it's just based on the fact that no is an answer and it's accepted for what it's worth. The other thing that it actually gives back is the sense of security. Because there's no doubt about cheating and one, overstepping the mark with the other, because it sets clear boundaries in terms of that love. It's unconditional, and it is something that you can expect from your partner at any given time, irrespective. The other thing that comes out of this unconditional love and embracing it is the fact that you go through tough times, and you deal with it and you manage it with kindness. Now, children, as they grow up, we have this constant, feeling of giving love and showing that we love them unconditionally. But as they get to adult stage, how often we say, I've given you all my love, I've given you all my attention, and we so much wanted you to become a doctor, and now you become an artist. So now we're attaching conditions to that love. Right? And it's also like someone chooses a partner and we say, for all that I've shown you, all the affection I've shown you, all the love, and you're going to choose someone like this as your partner for the rest of your life. So that's where the conditions come in, and that's where things get messy. Yes. Absolutely messy. So my message this morning to the viewers is to embrace unconditional love. And make sure that that's part of your personality as you get up every morning and you look at it throughout the day. Whether it's you attending a meeting, whether you're attending a disciplinary hearing, whatever the day puts out there, manage it with unconditional love. And see and experience and embrace the difference that comes out of that. That's my message this morning. Before I close, I want to just thank my friend in Australia, Ross, who was watching it, and my friend Colin from New Zealand as well. Regular supporters of the program.
Oh, how amazing. And what a powerful message.
Thank you so much,
100% understand that, absolutely love it, especially as a parent.
Yes.
We bring these little gorgeous people into the world. And it's easy to give them unconditional love when they're tiny, but then when they grow up and start making mistakes, it's like,
Then the attachment of love, expectation, and all of the conditions starts to come in. And what message are we giving our young people today?
Indeed.
Right? That it's love, but it comes with conditions. And I want to put that aside and say, live your life with unconditional love. Yes. That's what the message is.
And I was so lucky with my childhood because my parents obviously wanted the best for me.
Yes.
But at the same time, any mess up or screw up that I made, they were just like, well, you tried your best.
Yes.
Even going through my matric, I was a musical nerd, but not very academically inclined. And they always said, we just want you to scrape a pass, but even if you fail, we can see that you're trying your hardest.
Yeah.
As long as you can fail trying your hardest, we'll still be proud of you. So I'm one of those very blessed.
Awesome. And you speak so passionately about it because it was such a powerful meaning in your life. It's given you that strength and that courage to talk about it years later. And that's awesome. That is awesome.
How awesome. Well, you guys heard it. How phenomenal. Don't forget, go forward into the world with unconditional love.
Awesome.
Now we are going to go into an ad break. And then we have Amanda joining us from Ants Hill Construction. Stick around. Welcome back, everyone. We have Amanda on the couch with us today. Welcome to the studio.
Good morning.
It's your first time joining us here today, so glad to have you with us. Now, first, before we get into the business itself, let's go back a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about you. Are you a local?
I am from Natal. I grew up in Greytown. My husband grew up in Johannesburg, and we've been back in Ballito for 5 years now.
Okay.
And really enjoying it, yes.
How exciting. Okay, so now we're here to talk about Ants Hill Construction. Tell me how that all came about.
Nick has been in building forever. He's a qualified builder. And we went and lived in Botswana for 6 years, and that threw him straight into building from all sides. So his passion just grew, and it's something where I'm a mom. It allows me to work from home and be a part-time mom.
Okay.
So I do all the admin and sales, and Nick does the building side, which keeps us going. Yeah.
Fantastic. When I spoke to you on the phone, it seems like there's a lot happening. I mean, when you see, Ants Hill Construction, but there's so much more to it. There's a lot of extra things that you're doing. It's not just plain old construction. Would you mind giving us some more in-depth look in that?
Yeah, I must say Nick is... he's an artist by heart.
Okay.
And so he will look at something and he'll suggest colors or bring combinations that people won't think of. So he's a gentle builder, which you don't find many gentle builders.
Yes.
He's very hands-on.
Yes.
He works with his team. He doesn't leave the site and leave people there.
Yeah, delegate and step back.
And
Actually getting involved.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It's got to be straight. And, and he enjoys giving his opinion, so he won't be shy to make a suggestion if you're looking at making changes, etc. Or building. He comes up with creative ideas, and I think that makes the difference.
Yes, it's the practicality of what person in construction we need to know with the artistic side all coming together.
Yes.
Absolutely love that. Now, you mentioned something to me yesterday when we spoke about something to do with kids.
Yes, we've found a nice little space in the market where, because a lot of us are working from home, you do more with your children, but you're also home more. So, for instance, the one thing we're making now is a little chair where they stand by the counter to help in the kitchen, and they can't fall off. So mom can be on the other side and the toddler's on the other side helping, and everybody's safe and secure. And when they finished with that stage, then it will turn into a chair that they can actually sit on, either a little throne or, again, we take in the child's personality, colors, what they want. The beds that go hook on to the side for when you're breastfeeding and you don't want to get out of bed, so you've got your baby sleeping next to you.
Yes.
All those little things. We also, again, he will come in and see where and how, what to do. And the big thing is budget. We all know that. So we discuss it, whether you're going to do it quickly or over stages, or whether you want a princess's chair, or today she's getting a park bench, We all know how it goes.
Yes, of course. I love the flexibility, though. It means that you can do pretty much anything for anyone.
That's it. And I think, living in the bush, you have to get your hands dirty. You get involved in everything. So whether it's electrics, plumbing, tying, screwing in a screw, you just do it.
You just learn
it
to
doesn't
adapt.
matter who,
Yes, I was raised on a farm myself. I'm a farm girl, so I know this.
And again, when the qualifications come in. So when the electricians and the plumbers are needed, we have our guys we work with. Nick calls them in. It's all signed off and done legally.
That's phenomenal. Now, if people want to get a hold of you, or they want to even come and talk to you and to meet you and to chat more and to plan something that they want to do, where can they find you?
The best is to call our 083 457 9710 number. As we both out quite a bit. We do have an office where we can meet, which is quite on appointment. And yes, we're very happy. Generally, with our trade, you meet on site. Yes. Because one of us need to come and see what it is or get a feel for the place, an understanding of what you want, etc.
Okay, that makes sense. And just so the people are aware, where is your office?
In Belito Rona Road.
Okay, phenomenal. Absolutely love it. And is there anything else you'd like to tell us about before we close out?
Yeah, I think having lived as expats and having property in South Africa can be a bit of a nightmare. And we find ourselves with quite a few international clients where we manage the property maintenance.
Oh.
Yes, not much more. The garden, yes, but not tenants, etc. The property maintenance. So
Yes.
there's got to be a confidence. You've got to know the person's not overspending. And yes, we've got standing relationships with a few of them, which is nice from both sides because we can slot their jobs in around our other jobs.
Yes, of course. That sounds like there isn't really much that you guys don't do. That's phenomenal. Absolutely love it. Oh, my great glory. But thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure. Thank
And
you
I
for
hope we
having
get,
us.
Of course. I hope I get to chat to you again soon. It's been a delightful conversation. And we're going to be moving on to a little ad break. I am told that Warren Loader, who would usually be here every week, will not be joining us today. Unfortunately, load shedding has thrown us a little bit off, but that is okay. We will definitely be talking to Warren next week. Hopefully. But we're going to move onward and outward right after this ad break. We're going to be talking from Sharon Sinclair from Chandramala. See you now.
By Belito Gas en Braai fokus ons op ons kliënte. Vriendelike en doeltreffende diens is wat ons anders maak. Ons werk as 'n span met integriteit en deursigtigheid. Hier bied ons kliënte 'n onvergeetlike ervaring en werk ons met die beste belang van ons kliënt. Ons lewer nie net produkte aan ons kliënte nie, ons lewer ook 'n volledige diens, insluitend onderdele en tegniese ondersteuning.
At 1018 Skryfbehoeftes Belito, we offer an array of convenience services for our clients. With an in-store, fully operational business center, all under one roof, 1018 Skryfbehoeftes Belito is fully stocked with all your leading stationery brands. Proudly Belito for Belito.
Welcome back, everyone. We're moving onward to our next interview. As usual, Sharon, welcome.
Oh, fabulous to be here, as always.
I love having you every Thursday. How phenomenal. We get to sit and knack. We could talk all day if they let us, hey?
Absolutely.
Awesome. What have you got for me today?
Well, today I wanted to actually just share with everybody around our connection to God, Spirit, Universe,
Yes.
Allah, Buddha, whoever
Yes.
we actually pray to. And I think with the challenging times that we've gone through and the unpredictable future that we have on a daily basis, I think that where we find our kind of peace and belonging is through prayer, through meditation, and through the connection to higher spirit, higher beings, whatever you want to call it. But there's so many different ways that we can refer to that. But it all ends up at the same at the end of the day. It's where we come from. And this is where we find peace and clarity and the confidence to overcome certain challenges. And I think that I always make a joke with people when I do a little talks to groups of people, that when when I was on the other side with God, and God asked, who wants to teach love? And I went, yes, me. And they said, who wants to teach forgiveness? And I was like there first in the row. And all these lovely challenges and opportunities that we have to grow as human beings. And when I was born, I went, oh my hat, I think I want to go back. Because life can be quite challenging.
Yes,
and all these different relationship issues, and I mean, trust me, I've had some of those.
Sure.
And bosses and career choices and just survival today. And this is really where most of people are today, is in survival mode. And things aren't always as clear, and they're not always as smooth as what we would like them to be. But what we find that with prayer and with meditation and quiet time, however you want to term it, it allows us to connect to the inner core of who we are, where we have all the resources, all the information, all the answers that we need in order to overcome certain challenges or difficulties. And I look at people around today, and it's so interesting to see how people don't go within. They rather go and look at, let's be on social media. And I know social media, we have to be on there for business. I don't like social media, but I have to be on there for business. But we're on social media, and then we're in the shopping malls, and we find all these external distractions, which just doesn't help us to really discover who we are. It doesn't help us to connect to who we really are, to allow that potential to emerge, and so that we can flourish as human beings, which adds value to other people's lives, which also allows us to align to our purpose. And so my encouragement to people is to find that little quiet time. And trust me, I had this in this week myself. On Monday, I had a session with a colleague of mine in Joburg, Katrina, and I said, I just felt so disconnected, and it didn't make any sense for me. And so we started talking about, so when did you actually kind of just set the scene to reconnect? I said, well, actually I haven't. And so you get so accustomed to the way that you do things. So I spend a lot of time in nature. And so what I did is I lit a little candle, and I just took a few minutes and I just listened to a meditation. And since then, things have just seemed so much clearer and flowing so much better. Even my husband had a good day on Monday, which was good. And so we underestimate the power of that meditation, the power of prayer. And yes, we go to church on a Sunday, but what about just in the morning? Just connect and ask for help. And I think that this is a big thing, that sometimes we think that perhaps asking for help to maybe get those pair of shoes maybe is just not relevant, okay?
Yes.
Or we think that perhaps losing that kilo, asking for that the universe or God is too busy, and that's trivial. You know, there's people dying, that is more important.
Yes.
But remember that God or the universe is not judging, and so it doesn't matter what your request is. It doesn't matter how trivial or insignificant it may seem in the greater scheme of things. It's what you need at this moment. It's what's going to shift your life.
Yes.
And why can we not ask for that? You know, and so there's an abundant universe, and it doesn't matter what it is, but there's no shame in asking, you know. And I've been working with a group of people for many years now, and where prayer for helping people to heal is phenomenal. And there was a little girl in the UK that she was 6 years old that was diagnosed with cancer a few years back. And everybody just networked, and thank goodness for social media, and everybody started to really pray and meditate for this little girl. And within, I think it was 6 months or 8 months, she was healed.
Wow.
And you know, that gives me goosebumps when we think of the power when we place our intention in a good place. And we're coming from that, and that is directed to help so many different people. So that's my encouragement for people, is to try that, you know.
I did want to ask you, now you speak about meditation. This is something that I think a lot of people that are watching will relate to, is that's the kind of thing I would always love to get into, but my few attempts have failed so miserably, I cannot even tell you. Just because it's so hard just to quieten the mind. It's just, you're just lying there like,
Absolutely,
Like, it's not
absolutely.
happening. Is this something you can help people with?
It's difficult, and I've also got quite a busy mind, all right? and so we're very similar as well.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is to download a 1-minute meditation and perhaps a guided one.
Okay.
And so the guided one is where somebody's actually speaking the process through with you and guiding you on that journey. But it's short, and as you are learning to quieten your mind, you're listening to this person guide you.
And it takes time, I suppose, and
It takes
persistence.
practice.
It
It
won't
takes-
work the first few times, likely.
Absolutely,
It'll take
absolutely,
time.
yes.
Lying there like, oh, this isn't
I
working.
know, and then you beat yourself up because it's not working. You get so frustrated, then you've avoided the whole objective
Yes,
of the
and
whole
then
process.
you end up more frustrated instead of relaxed.
Instead of
This is the
relaxing.
experience that I've had.
Absolutely. and a lot of people think that, oh, I need to sit like this, and anybody that knows me, I don't do this at all. It just doesn't suit my energy. But if we just do like a minute of a guided meditation, and we start to get into the mode of that, you know. But then there's also many other forms. There's working in the garden, and you love nature as well, all right, coming from the farm, going out a lot in the bush with the children. So that's also a form when we connect in nature, is because nature is so pure and so natural and so in tune with spirit, the universe and God. And we learn so much from nature.
We do.
And so we become one with nature. And so nature is very therapeutic, and it also allows us to quieten the mind. It's one of the key things about nature is it allows us to quieten the mind and also to get clarity. So all the jumble and the confusion, etc., just sort of eases off. And so that's a way that people can do to allow the chatter in the mind to also come to an end.
It's funny. I think we may have spoken about this a few weeks ago when I went to the Berg.
Yes,
and
we did.
my husband and I were both craving just getting away, but I insisted on us going to the most far-flung place that I could find. Like, no, I want to be like 2 hours further than the Midlands. We have this resort that's, if you put your GPS on, you're like right on the Lesotho border. It's quite far. It
beautiful.
was a 5-hour journey with 2 small kids in the car. But it was so worth it. It's just quiet. You don't hear anything but wild animals, and that's just it. I always hear traffic, and I can hear my neighbors, and I'm not interested. Just for one weekend.
And you see, and that's a form of meditation. That's a form of actually quieting and connecting to the higher realms or spirit or God, but also to just bring more peace and calm. Because when we look at today, the life today is quite chaotic, you know, and especially if you've got children and you've got a job or you've got multiple jobs.
And life is just
life
busy.
is crazy. It's crazy. And so it's so healthy for us as people in today's world is to just reconnect to ourselves through nature, through just a thought, you know. And I always encourage people, because a lot of my clients are self-employed, and they've got busy jobs, busy lifestyles, etc., or they travel a lot, and it's difficult for them to go and maybe go to a studio and to do a meditation or go and do yoga, whatever the case may be, and they just don't have the time to spend an hour, for example, to meditate in the morning. And for me as well, an hour of my time in the morning to meditate is crazy. It just doesn't fit into my day.
Hours in the day.
No, it doesn't. And so comfortably, we can look at a minute. But as we start with a minute a day, we can easily, within the first 2 or 3 weeks, we can move to 2 minutes a day. Because we find this kind of just like peace and ability and resilience to overcome any challenge. And it's so good for our well-being, because remember, it also helps our respiratory system, our immune system, and our endocrine system. So if, for example, we've got a hormone imbalance, then even prayer, meditation will help, and time in nature will help to balance that out. So from a health point, it makes a lot of sense to do more of that. But we just become better people when we engage and interact, because we're calmer, we're more peaceful. When we interact and engage. And so when something happens there, we don't run off on a tangent and react and explode. We can look at that and go, all right,
Handle the situation.
Handle it calmly from that centered space.
Okay, now before we run out of time, I'm told that there are you have some retreats coming up.
Yes,
There's a lot happening in your life, Sharon. Share it with us.
That happened after I did that little meditation on Monday.
It'll went poof.
It just all just exploded, which is so exciting. So our first retreat that we've got at Chandramala venue out in Everton Gillets is with Claudia Grunaus. That is also one of the
I saw that
inspirational
online,
ladies. Yes. So we're doing a renewal and a growth retreat for one day out in nature, really looking at how can we access our true self and really bring out the potential and relax and really get rid of things that we've been carrying this last challenging year. So we're fresh and revitalized for 2022. So that's the first one that's happening on Saturday, the 4th of December.
Okay.
And then in partnership with Cassia and Bronwyn, we've also from KB Collection, we've got also a rejuvenating, renewal, well-being, breath retreat for one day, also held at Chandramala in Everton. And that is going to be fascinating. We've got some amazing people. We've got a speaker there, Evelyn Alexandra, that has just recovered from colon cancer.
Oh, wow.
And she's done that through breath work, through meditation and prayer, and simply focusing on her own healing. So that's amazing. And Evelyn is quite inspirational. And many other speakers, etc. as well. And then there is a new collaboration with a lady here in Durban, and then a lady in Cape Town, Takara Mohammed, as well as Jeshri Naidu here in Durban. And we're doing a retreat, a 2-day retreat for women, and we're looking at it between 30 and 50 women. It's going to be quite a mind-blowing experience, where we're going to be doing a rebirthing. And a lot of women have been abused, and in many ways, be it sexual or verbal or physical. And we're in this time frame where we are looking at abuse against women.
Yes.
And so Takara, also quite an inspirational lady as well. Through her own journey, she's also a self-published author. She has decided to actually use the Chandramala venue to facilitate her 2-day retreat for women. A whole rebirthing process. So that should be quite exciting.
How exciting, yes.
And so the retreats are on my website, not on my website, on my Facebook pages.
Okay.
And if anybody's interested, they can just go onto Chandramala or on my Facebook page and have a look. The rebirthing one for the 18th and 19th of December, we will probably put onto the Facebook pages probably by the end of the weekend.
Okay. All right. That's phenomenal. Wow, so much happening. Look who's so popular. Hey, all over the place. Oh, my great giddy aunt. And I love this little book.
Yes. I thought I'd share that little book because, sometimes we just need something to refer to. And maybe sometimes we don't know what meditation to do or what to ask for. And so sometimes we can just
Give you
get
a helping
little book.
hand.
Sorry?
Give you a little bit of a helping hand.
Absolutely,
yes.
absolutely. So I have various little books, and that's my little Christian book. And if you look at, say, for instance, today's message, it's a little message for every single day.
Yes.
And that can give you some sort of support and guidance and just that reassurance that we so often need.
What is the date today?
Today is the 11th, I think it is.
Is it? I'm always one of those people that never knows what the date is. All right, can I see what today is?
Yes.
November the 11th. Am I even in the right day? Here we go. Okay, I feel like I'm reading an oral at school. Goodness. Okay. I fill you with power in order for you to serve and help people. The anointing of the servant of God is in the sake of advancing the servant. The anointing is for the sake of the people. I've set you free from selfish, self-driven desires and goals in order for you to love people with a pure heart. When you love purely, you'll ask for nothing except for the joy of giving that which you've received of me. Love people for their benefit, not yours. How coincidental is that, though? Tony was speaking about that.
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
Wow. And this is the thing.
That's
and
insane.
We can only love people unconditionally when we are connected inside and we can love ourselves.
You know how often this happens with you, though? I talk to you, and I don't think you plan it, but your topic always seems to fall back onto our daily inspiration. Absolutely incredible. You blow my mind every single time you sit down with me, Sharon. Absolutely love it, and thank you so much for sharing your insight with us. Absolutely love it.
Pleasure.
Right, so we're going to move onward. We're going to be sitting talking to Mitchell Curtis right after this, right after the break, so stick around. Welcome back, everyone, and we are so privileged today to have Mitchell with us today. Mitchell, and Mitchell's dad, who I've been knowing you as Mitchell's dad for the last few days. We were talking about this before. Is that what's on your birth certificate, perhaps? So it's Jacques, right? Okay,
That is
Mitchell
correct.
Jacques, fantastic. Right, welcome, guys. Now, you are here because we were speaking briefly. As I understand it, you're going to be setting up a new addiction centre, or you are, in the area. Is this right?
Yes, so it's going to be on the Dolphin Coast, just a little bit north of Stanger.
Okay, all right. Perfect. Now, before we get into that, let's go a little bit back in time. Would you mind telling us a bit more about yourself, Mitchell?
Okay, so I'm an alcoholic and an addict in recovery. And basically just a little bit of background as to why we started this. You know, I struggled with substances for quite some time. You know, I wouldn't say throughout school, but once I'd left school, it was very, very apparent that I didn't drink and use like normal people. But, you know, I kind of used the substances to mask how I was feeling inside, because I always felt separate and apart from other people, and I didn't feel like I quite fitted in. But as soon as I had my substance, all those fears, all those worries kind of disappeared, and I could fit in with everyone.
Yes.
And not only that, I just didn't really care what other people thought about me. So it was like this magic potion.
Yes.
So it went very quickly from being something that, you know, would be used on weekends and things with friends, to being something I depended on every day, to kind of get me through the day, to be able to sit and speak to people, to be able to go to work, to be able to even just go and see a girlfriend or whatever. And I wouldn't say slowly, but quite quickly the consequences started to catch up with me. You know, friends started to pull away from me. I was starting to cause a lot of trouble when I would go out. Lost jobs. Definitely couldn't hold on to any romantic relationships. And my relationship with my parents completely disintegrated.
Okay.
And, you know, at the time I couldn't figure out what the problem was. I knew I was using in excess, but I honestly believed that I was the victim in my own life. I believed my parents hadn't done things right for me. I believed, you know, I wasn't given the right opportunities, and I'd suffered traumatic experiences and all that kind of stuff. But it was my inability to actually take responsibility for my own life, which landed me up basically homeless at the end of it, and with a choice to make. My choice was carry on doing what I'm doing, but understand that I lose my family, I lose everything, or go and get help.
Yes.
And, you know, it was only when I'd reached that rock bottom where I finally admitted that I had a problem, and I went and, you know, I went to rehab. And when I got to rehab, that's where I realized, oh, so I'm just like everyone else. I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic, and this is my problem. And as soon as I got shown the process or shown the program, it immediately just lit up like a little spark. And immediately I got very passionate about it. You know, I went through the full process, did the full 12 steps, then went to the halfway house, and then, you know, moved out onto my own, got on my own 2 feet, worked quite a few jobs, and all throughout that, kind of had to take responsibility for my life and where I was at in my life. You know, I couldn't now hold on to the things that was keeping me back before. And through that, I've been able to build friendships in the fellowship, repair some old friendships, and build a relationship with my family, which I had given up.
That's incredible. And
so
how long, if I remember right, I think I read your city, it's somewhere around 2 years.
No, I'm actually at 3.5 years.
Wow. That's incredible. Well done. What an accomplishment. That's
Thank you.
insane. And now, Dad, I mean, you say you obviously had trouble with Dad, but you're here, which is incredible. From your perspective, it must have been quite tough.
As a family, it is probably one of the hardest things that anybody will go through, especially because you don't want to believe it.
Yes, of course.
And the first thing that you, as a family, you do when you start seeing the signs, which are withdrawal, that's the first thing that any family should look out for, is when children or loved ones pull away or starting to pull away from you. That is always an indication. So anyway, when we saw this, we were like, my wife wasn't as suspicious as I was, but I saw some signs, and then, you know, we discussed it. And but when you've got the normal attitude that most people have towards addiction, is, my wife always coined a term, was pull yourself towards yourself. What's your problem? You know, just stop.
Just stop. Just fix it.
That's it.
You know, and it's, we laugh about it now,
Yes.
But having now walked this road with Mitchell, which is, as I said earlier, very tough, but once you come out the other side, it's actually incredibly enlightening. So we walked this road with Mitchell and we realized you can't just pull yourself towards yourself. And there is a process, and this is where we feel that with Mitchell being the driver of this whole thing, we can add more value to it, because as a family, I feel that's where, or we feel that's where there is a huge gap in this whole thing, is that there isn't that much support for family and loved ones, and not much assistance. You're left on your own. You can go to a support group and talk about your problems, but nobody actually guides you. And we feel that this is where we can add some value. But coming back to the hard process, we really struggled, and then eventually, like Mitchell said, we had to get to the point where we had to say, it's our survival or Mitchell's survival, not and.
Yes.
And that is what happens with family and loved ones. You get to that point, and that is where you actually force the addict into his rock bottom.
Yes.
Literally kick him out.
Yeah.
His choice was
It's
sleep
that
on the
tough
streets
love, unfortunately.
or
Yes.
go to rehab. And we didn't force him. He checked himself in.
That's good. Well, it needs to be there. It needed to be your decision.
It has to be. But that's another thing that
you could just push him in the right direction.
little forceful nudge. But that's the whole thing. That you really do have to get to that point where the addict admits the problem and then says, I want help. Because if you say to somebody, I'm going to drag you to rehab, you've got no chance of success.
Yes, I've heard quite a few stories like that. You force someone into it, and they're just like, yeah, I'm just going to go through the process just to keep the family quiet. As soon as they're out, back at it again.
Well, that's it. And a lot of rehabs don't work on, Mitchell's very passionate about the 12 steps and absolutely no, drug assistance or, substance assistance. It's a process you have to work through. And addiction is actually a problem of the mind. There are physical addictions, but actually it comes from the mind. So now, if you go, what we want to do is make sure that the person comes to the rehab voluntarily, because then your chance of success is so much higher.
Yes.
And there are ridiculous statistics out there, which Mitchell can quote, that, what's the number?
3%.
3% of all addicts
Ever find recovery
and stay recovered throughout their whole life.
Oh, wow.
So we'd like to improve on that number, because we feel if you go through the right process and you get the buy-in,
yes,
there's a better chance of a person remaining sober.
Yes.
And it's not, today I was listening on TV, we were talking about all these distractions that we have in social media and everything like that. Everybody thinks that addiction is just a substance abuse,
yes,
whether it's alcohol or drugs. But now you've got internet addictions, you've got gaming addictions, you've got gambling addictions. It's all addiction. It's that addictive behavior where you start forgetting about what goes on around you and you only focus on yourself. But Mitchell can elaborate more on that kind of thing. But that's the whole thing. We all deny a lot of these things, but these are all the addictions that we're faced with today. And, we'd like to offer that kind of help to people now. Yes. And like I said, because we've walked this road, and we were, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think we were integral part of your successful recovery, because we supported, but didn't enable. That's the term.
That's the thing I was going to bring up as well. I think some very well-minded families can be unintentionally enabling a loved one's addiction, which doesn't...
That today is the biggest problem.
That's what I wanted to get to, was basically, my parents tried to help me with everything. I was going and seeing doctors, going and seeing Mom's funny friend as well. So I went to go see quite
psychologists.
So but
they're very good at bullshitting psychologists, don't worry.
I went to psychologists, psychiatrists, all those kinds of things, and nothing ever really worked.
Yes.
So it had to get to a point where I had to be cut off. I had to be cut off because I had to lose everything, because that was the only way I was seeing that, so maybe I'm the problem. It's not everyone else that's the problem. Because I honestly, truly believed everyone else was the problem.
Yes.
And, I was fighting with
it's easier to point
everyone.
the blame in other directions,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
And, I thought I was a perfectly nice guy. Everything I was doing was fine, but I didn't see my manipulation. I didn't see the dishonesty. I didn't see the aggressive behavior. I didn't see any of that stuff because that was all my masks. That was all what I used to kind of cope with life and kind of get through day-to-day things. And now the way I live my life is completely different.
Yes.
I'm 100% open and transparent. I'm not ashamed of being an alcoholic and an addict in recovery. It is what it is, and I have to change the way I lived my life from before to how I live it now in order to survive and actually enjoy my life. And in the last 3.5 years, I've had a better life than I ever did in active.
That's incredible.
And to say I can actually go to bed and wake up early and remember conversations from the night before is just a small added bonus.
That's insane.
But, I've been able to have different jobs, create awesome friendships, like I said, relationship with my family and stuff. And that's all in a short space of like 3.5 years. So imagine what the next 3.5 years are going to be like
And
in
the
the
rest
time
of
after
your
that.
life.
So
Yes.
that's what I want to give back to people is I want to try and take them out of the life of active addiction and show them what life they can have in recovery.
And maybe that 3% margin will improve just a
Yes.
little bit, because I really
We want to
never
get to
thought-
double figures.
It would be great if we could get to double figures. That's phenomenal. I didn't never realize that that number was so small. I mean, you hear that people go to rehab. You kind of assume that the foundations are being built, but I think also the support that you're giving the families will be incredibly important because people, I think, can feel like they're on their own, and that's when things are going to go wrong, I think.
Well, that's where we feel that we've got something to add to the recovery, call it
Yes.
arena, because firstly, you need support to get the addict to go to rehab. And that's where there's a huge lacking. There's nobody there that you can consult or go to or speak to and say, well, what am I supposed to do? We're talking about the enabling part of it. The most innocent things in life are enabling. People say, but he just lives under my roof. That's enabling. Okay.
Yeah. That's why
Literally,
you kicked him out.
you have
I love
to,
you, son, but go.
you have to get to that point where you draw the line and you cut it off.
Wow.
That's it. And that you term it tough love. Lots of things have been, it's been called lots of things in the past. But if you don't do that, that person doesn't hit rock bottom. And without that rock bottom, there's no voluntary buy-in.
Yes.
You have to have that voluntary buy-in.
Yes.
And the choice must be the addict's.
Yes.
If the addict says, okay, cool, I'm happy to go and live on the streets, do whatever, you as a parent or a loved one have to accept their decision and you have to stay sane through it. And that's the tough part. And that's where you need to be able to speak to people who've gone through this process, because otherwise you feel terribly alone and you feel guilt. And that's the big thing. You feel guilt. I can't do this because how can I do this? This is my son. This is my
Yes.
husband, my wife.
Yes.
And addiction it covers everything. I was, let's call it blind to this whole game. And in the last 3.5 years, my eyes have been opened.
Yes.
Addiction covers all walks of life.
It really
From
does.
the professionals, the doctors.
Doesn't
I mean,
discriminate.
it doesn't discriminate. When we were at rehab, there were elderly women, ophthalmologists, anaesthetists, professionals, accountants, whatever.
Yes.
And there's a huge stigma attached to it, and that's what Mitchell is.
Yes.
He's almost proud of it, and I'm incredibly proud of him because I did go to university, but I think what he's achieved in his life is more than what I've done because it's a tougher road.
Yes.
Trust me, it's a
Yes.
tougher road.
Yes, yeah. That's incredible. Absolutely love it. Is there anything else you want to close with before we finish up?
I think people must just understand that it's okay to, when they've got a loved one or someone that is acting out and things, to have that intervention with them and put the boundaries in place, and when someone oversteps that boundary, to cut them off. It's okay to protect yourself.
Yes.
Because if my parents hadn't done that with me, I don't think I'd be sitting here today. So that tough love, and as difficult as it might have been, that's what saved my life at the end of the day.
Yes.
It got me into recovery.
Yes.
And I've had lots of dealings with people and things like that, and I try and encourage the same sort of thing because you want that person to get into recovery, because the longer you enable them, the worse the outcome is going to be.
Yes, and the sooner they get through recovery, the sooner these relationships can be recovered.
Can be
And
healed.
life is really
Yes.
amazing in recovery. It really, really is. I haven't looked back. There's not enough money in the world that you could pay me to make me go back to active addiction.
Well, that's
It
good.
just isn't.
That you can prove to people that it is possible, and hopefully we can lighten the stigma slightly.
Yes.
To actually get more people to have the courage to step forward.
Well,
and
that's
ask for
why
help.
I'm very open and honest about it. You know, people always ask me, oh, why don't you drink? Why don't you do that? Oh, it's because I'm an alcoholic, I'm an addict. And most people look at me like I'm an alien. And I find it quite funny now. But it's...
Watching people's reactions.
Yeah, exactly. It's become like a little game. But it's just, I want to normalize it, because for me, it is what it is. That's what I am. And I'm not going to run away from it. I'm not embarrassed about it. I was born this way. It's happened. Now I'm changing the way I live my life.
That's
to manage it. It's like anyone with diabetes, with a peanut allergy. It's the same kind of thing.
You just have to manage it, yes.
You just have to manage it.
Wow.
So we just need to try and change the stigma around it. And as soon as we can do that with general society, maybe the people can get the help they need instead of hiding for so long.
Yes, I suppose the more everyone learns to talk about it, the more people will start to think more openly about these things.
That's it.
And a lot of parents also feel the stigma, because it's going to bring down, what are our family going to think? What are our friends going to think?
Yes. Yes, worried about what people will think.
Really?
Yes, I get that.
They don't mean anything. It's about you and your family healing themselves
Yes, I get that.
and going through the process. That's what it is.
Now, before we close, I'm sure there's a lot of people that will want to contact you for whichever side of the coin it is. I think there's a lot of people out there that might need your help. How can people get a hold of you?
Okay, so we have got a Victims of Addiction Facebook page. We've also got a Wellvale Recovery Centre Facebook page. We're also on Instagram, and then all of our email addresses and contact numbers are also on there.
Okay.
And yeah, people
And
can
just
send
so we
us-
know, this addiction centre, when will it be open
So
for
we
taking
are,
people in?
That's probably going to be middle to end of December.
So
But
very soon.
yes, very soon. But
That's
we will
exciting.
be, doing posts of saying this is exactly when we're going to be open.
Fantastic.
But
I'll
yeah.
definitely keep track of that. That's
you very much.
exciting. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for coming in. It's been so enlightening. I'm glad we had more time today to chat properly. That's absolutely phenomenal. You guys are doing fantastic work. I look
Thank you
forward
very much.
to,
Thanks a lot.
hopefully I want to actually come and visit you at some point in the future to see how you guys
we'd
are
love
doing.
that.
That'll be awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, we're going to be heading into an ad break, I believe. And then we are going to be enjoying our musical showcase after that, so stick around.
Arms around me like a border, like the air I breathe. I let you in, keep me warm underneath my skin. 'Cause I'm giving in to your touch. I can never get enough. Diving deep into the ocean. Dear Mom, you're my best friend, okay? You're the funniest person I met in the whole world. But you're so bad at hiding. You do make the best brownies though. I love it when we go riding together. When I'm older, I want to be pretty like you. Happy birthday, Mom.
Welcome back, everyone, and that rounds up this morning's show. And I also need to say a little hello to Yvonne and Hannah, who are watching as we speak. Thank you so much. And I must, of course, thank all of our guests, our viewers, our sponsors for making this possible. And we are going to be closing on our musical showcase today, which is Daniel Jenkins, the song being City Streets. So enjoy, sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Deze Intercity stopt ook in Amsterdam.
Singing, there's got to be, there's gotta be, no, there's got to be a little bit of loving in the streets. We have to bring that perfect harmony. A little bit of loving in the streets. There's got to be perfect serenity. I've had the rhythm set in motion, regardless of the commotion. It's time to love again. It's like these streets with energy, city on a hill, electricity for the world to see. Thinking about becoming a new song, giving you goosebumps. Then the words I sing, singing, there's got to be, there's gotta be. Oh no, no, there's got to be a little bit of loving in the streets. We have to bring that perfect harmony.